Well, this is the fun part, is the asking. Now, most normal human beings don't like to ask other people for money, especially if you live in the South. It's just not very gentlemanly or ladylike to talk about somebody's money, their politics, or their religion, right? So there's their apprehension of making the ask. All of this intellectual knowledge is great, but if we don't make the ask, we haven't accomplished what we've set out to do. Thing I love to help do is to reduce the level of anxiety for asking, to show you how easy it is, how effective it is, and actually how much fun it can be when you get that major gift and you see delight in the face of the donor, a happy donor who is grateful that you have asked him or her to join you in changing the lives of people and the quality of life in your community, in their community. So when a time comes to do the asking, there's a lot of things, and usually we do a whole seminar section on doing this, so I'm going to have to abbreviate it greatly. Years ago, somebody asked John Rockefeller a question about this subject of asking for the gift, and he's made this statement. He said, "I don't want anybody to tell me how much to give, but I do want them to suggest an amount to me that they would like for me to consider." Now, just remember that. We believe that once you have come through this process up to now of making an ask, a three-part ask for your project, for your campaign, that you need to have done your homework enough to know either a specific amount, a level of giving that you want your prospective donor to give, or using another technique that I like to use with a range of gift chart, which Jimmy just showed you, and I'll use the range of gift chart if I'm not sure of the level of gift. For instance, let me back up a little bit. Say I had evaluated Lewis, and I know based on my knowledge of him, my donor research, my conversations with him, his giving history to other organizations, I know that if he were so inclined, he could comfortably make a $50,000 gift to my organization. So I'm going to ask him directly, would he be willing to consider giving at that level? Now, if I'm not sure of Lewis, but I know he has capacity to give, the next fallback for me is to take the range of gift chart, and I will show him what I define as the leadership gifts, which is those top 20 gifts, which usually represents anywhere from 70 to 90% of the campaign total. And I will say, these are our leadership gifts, and you can see, according to these percentages, if we don't get these levels of giving, we can't make it up with a lot more smaller gifts. There's just not that many prospects that'll give $1,000 or $5,000 to offset these higher level of giving. Would you be willing to consider making a leadership gift? Now, what I've done in that illustration, and there's other ways to use a range of gift chart, is to set a minimum gift level, because I have told him the top 20, and that bottom level may be 25,000, it may be 10, it depends on your range of gift chart, it may be 50, maybe 100,000. But they'll know what the minimum is, then we'll let them self-select. I've even had people, and not too infrequently, to go above that bottom level when I gave them the ability just to stay there. I gave them the opportunity to stay at the bottom level, but they wanted to give more. But I would prefer that we do our homework to go to somebody and ask them to consider a certain level of giving. Now, we also want to suggest that you go in twos. It's harder to say no to two people than one. Also, if you have two people, you reinforce each other. And usually before we go to make a call with my partner, we'll determine who's going to do the role. You review the case, I'll do the asking, or vice versa, whatever it is. And we tag team, and sometimes too, I'll forget to say something, or I didn't bring out a point that the other person knows that would be important to that person, and we work together as a team to make the ask. Let me help you just a little bit, and I wish I had more time because there's so much we could do here to help you to become easy and comfortable with making an ask. Many times, it's all in how you say what you need to say. If I were to come to you and say, this is kind of awkward for me because we're such good friends, But I didn't want to assume you wouldn't be interested in supporting this project. Now, there's nothing offensive about that. Or you could say, Melinda and I have made this campaign a priority for our personal philanthropic giving. We are going to make a $50,000 gift to the Boys and Girls Club in Thomasville, Georgia. And we would like for you and Ann to consider joining us and partnering with us to help these kids and family. Would you be willing to match our gift? There's nothing offensive about that. We're asking somebody, would you be willing to consider giving at a certain level? And they may have reasons why they can't. They may say, well, I can't do 50, but I can do 25. We'd be happy with that. So there's a lot of ways that you can approach asking. But asking is an art, and it is a science. And the science is using your range of gift chart, knowing the levels of gifts that you need. The science is knowing your donor, doing your research from their ability to give, their history of giving. The art is in the way that you do the asking. Now, we're asking them, though, to make a three-part gift, inasmuch as we'll say, Lewis, we're asking you to consider making a $50,000 gift. Before you say yes or no, let me share with you what that would mean. We need money for operations. We show them the case for support. We need money for one-time capital needs, and we're asking you to consider putting us in your estate planning so that your giving will live on after you, and it helps to ensure our financial stability for the years to come. One gift that covers 3 areas of need for our organization, and this has great appeal to know that one gift meets 3 different areas of needs financially for that nonprofit. Now, depending on who your prospect, if they're current donors and they're already supporting you annually, then you make a case for continuing their annual support and asking them to consider a sacrificial gift over and above their annual giving for a certain level of giving. But we make clear that this is a 3-part ask. Now, let me tell you about endowment real quickly. Years ago, do you remember when Warren Buffett, when Warren Buffett gave Bill Gates $1 billion? You know, billionaires giving money to each other. Who understands that? Well, and I was channel surfing, and I just caught the last part, unfortunately, of an interview this young lady was doing with Warren Buffett. And she was talking to him about that very question. Why are you giving money to Bill Gates? Bill does wonderful things, Melinda, all over the world. But then she asked this question. This is what caught my attention. She said, Mr. Buffett, let me ask you, when you're considering as to who you're going to give to, as you're considering who's going to be the beneficiary of your philanthropic support, what do you consider? He said, and he didn't hesitate. He said, the first thing I look at in determining whether or not I'm going to make a gift to a nonprofit is whether or not they have an endowment. He said, if they have an endowment, that tells me they're well managed because they're preparing for the financial insecurities of the future. Now, I've done this a long time, 36 plus years now. I've worked with very large nonprofits, billion-dollar campaigns, all the way down to the smallest of 600,000 before I came with Jimmy. I have seen very few, even in some of the largest nonprofits, who have an endowment fund. And it's awful. It's awful. And we have this misnomer thinking that, if I ask them to give me an estate gift, they won't give me money I need now. And that's ridiculous, because I'm not going to give you an estate gift if I'm not deeply in love with you. Why would I put you in my will if I didn't love you, care about you, and want you to be successful? Sure, I'll put you in my will, and I'm not dead yet. I can still give money every year. So people, especially philanthropists, understand endowment. They understand, like Mr. Buffett, the importance of endowment, and other people will too. I think another thing that's very important, I want to leave you with this. One of the biggest difficulties in asking for major gifts, and I've seen this in large institutions with professional fundraisers, development staff, if you're not a millionaire, you don't know how to talk to a millionaire. This is what you tell yourself. You don't relate. you're uncomfortable with asking somebody to give $50,000 because I wish I had $50,000, and you don't think like a millionaire, and you don't realize that wealthy people have a need to do something with their philanthropy. If they don't give it, they're going to lose it. If they don't invest in the nonprofit sector, the government's going to take that money. They are professional givers. And they, like every other human being, prioritize who they're going to give to. And you've got to learn to think like they do and understand their world as best you can. They're not offended by you asking them for a large amount of money. That's where they live. And a $50,000 gift for some of the people that come to your awareness event might be like you're giving a $2,000 gift or a $1,000 gift proportionately. So you've got to realize that wealthy people are not offended by being asked by the right people, the right time, for the right case of support to consider making a gift at a level that you suggest. So I want you to remember that. The three-part ask is so important. It's unique. That's why it's a comprehensive campaign. It's not a capital campaign. And again, wealthy people are professional givers. They understand the need for operational funds. They run businesses or whatever. They understand the need for capital funds, and they certainly understand endowment. So they're going to love the fact that you're astute enough and professional enough to know how to run your organization that results in a comprehensive campaign that's going to provide financial stability for your organization. Thank you.
Thank you all.